You know, there's a certain sense of authority that some people respond to and other people don't respond to. And I don't understand what it is that makes people respond to one type of authority when they don't respond to another type of authority. It's like in society we look up to certain people. Like, for instance, the guy who's driving a Mercedes on his way to work, and he pulls over to a gas station, gets out of his car to get gasoline, just like you do, goes into the store to get a Coke or a pack of cigarettes, just like you do, but he's wearing a three-piece suit. He's wearing a $200 shirt with a $50 tie, a pair of loafers, he's carrying a briefcase, and you look at this guy and you think, fuck, you know, this guy's got it together. This guy's got his act together. He's there, and I'm not. And if this guy were to tell you something, for instance, it's going to snow tomorrow, or Michael Jackson just died, or there's just been a terrorist attack on the fucking World Trade Centers, or whatever, you would believe this guy. Now, let's say a guy wearing a cowboy hat and an old roughed up t-shirt that said, "Go Jetsons," walks into the store with a pair of old dusty cowboy boots. He just got out of an old beat up 1972 Ford truck, walks into the store and says, "Hey, you know, a plane just hit the World Trade Centers." What are you going to think? I mean, what are you going to think about that guy telling you that? And I wonder what I would think. If it was true, I guess I would believe it. But all that shit aside, that's not the point here. The point is how we tend to judge people in society based on their hygiene, based on their job, based on whatever circumstances that are pleasurable to the eye. I mean, a hobo can dress up in a suit. I mean, a hobo can wear a tie just as easily as a rich guy can wear a tie. And it makes you realize just how little emphasis we put on what the situation actually is, as opposed to the way it appears. I've seen individuals walk into stores that look like they just crawled out of a cave, and come to find out they were multimillionaires, they were business owners. I've seen individuals walk into stores wearing three-piece suits, come to find out they lived with their parents, drove their parents' cars, and made minimum wage, had no medical insurance. And it's a sad fact. I mean, there's certain things that we want to be, but our minds will not let us be these things that we want to be because society does not tolerate them. Society would rather see an individual grow up to be a three-piece suit wearing guy that works in an office, as opposed to being an activist that speaks out for human rights, and an activist that speaks out for freedom of speech, and an activist that proves the power of freedom of speech by saying some very absurd and very hurtful things that may offend certain people. So society tends to pick sides in that retrospect, because maybe it is that we want to be certain things, but we're afraid to be the things that we want to be because we know that society does not tolerate them. We know that society does not tolerate individuals that go outside the norm. We want to be acceptable to society. I want to be acceptable to society just like anyone else does. I mean, I could go out and make speeches about how I feel that, you know, drugs should be left up to the individual to decide for themselves whether or not they want to use them. I could make speeches about how I feel that there should be more freedoms exposed and used in America, and how the government should have much less control over the people than it does. But society prevents me from doing that because society says if I go out and I pick a certain side, I'm a worthless individual, or I may not get a job, because if employers see what I'm advocating, they may consider me to be an individual who is on the wrong side of the law and not hire me. So I don't want to stain my public image, so I don't do those things. But I do, in a sense, and I know all of this doesn't seem to make any sense, but the point is that we, as a society, we are simply afraid to be what we want to be. We don't want to live in these condos. We don't want to drive these Mercedes and work in these office buildings and make $100,000 a year. We may think we do, but I guarantee you the yuppie lifestyle is not a very enjoyable lifestyle, because deep down we know that it's all superficial. It's not real. I mean, money is not real. What you buy with money, the happiness that you get with money, is not real happiness. If it is, then tell me why every single yuppie that you meet, why every single rich person that you meet, why every single person that has a remotely large amount of money that you meet is a total asshole. Tell me why that is. If money's supposed to make you so fucking happy, if accomplishing these big-time dreams and going to college and becoming a lawyer or a doctor or what the fuck ever and making all this money and fucking a hot girl and marrying that hot girl and having 3 kids and living in a $900,000 house and driving 3 cars is so enjoyable, tell me why the people that do it are not fucking happy. I mean, it seems to be a simple scenario. I've found that the most happy people sometimes tend to be the people with the most few possessions. People that live in trailer parks, people that drive old beat-up cars, that have 3 kids to feed and work meager jobs because they realize that there are other things in life besides money. And what kills me is, as children, we're taught to go to college, which I have no problem with. I'm a college graduate. I have college degrees, and I certainly advocate going to college. I'm certainly not speaking against that. Go to college by all means, but do it for the right reasons. We're taught as children to go to college not to get an education. As a matter of fact, if you really look at it in the right retrospect, it doesn't matter if we get an education. As children, we're taught get through college. However you have to do it. If you have to cheat, so what? If you have to forge grades, so what? Just as long as it shows up on that motherfucking piece of paper that you graduated from Harvard University, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you got to that goal, as long as you get to that goal. That's the ideal of the American dream. Even though we may not say it, that's what's behind it. Now, why do we want to get these college educations? Is it so we can be educated individuals? So we can get a job and have a career and do that job to the best of our ability and actually be useful in American society? No. It's so we can be self-serving, self-absorbent, self-worshipping fucking people, so we can get jobs, do those jobs to the least of our talents and our abilities, do those jobs to the least of the liking of other people, just so we can get that big hefty fucking paycheck, so we can go and put a down payment on our $1 million house, go buy our Mercedes, go marry our fucking trophy wife, and live happily ever after in our mansion with our cars and our happy little lifestyle. It doesn't have anything to do with growing up to be something worthwhile. And here's the question I have. I mean, I wouldn't mind having the Mercedes or the $900,000 house, just like anybody else wouldn't mind having it. But I would want it to stand for something. I don't want to live to get these possessions. I want these possessions to represent what I lived for. You see what I'm saying? I want these possessions to show that I worked very hard to accomplish a goal, and I accomplished that goal. But these possessions are not what I lived for. They serve as a type of trophy as to what I did. And they're not important to me. They wouldn't be important to me, but I wouldn't live for those things. Kind of like the concept of a surgeon who saves many, 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 many lives. And yes, he's got a nice $1 million house, and he's got all kinds of cars, and he's got a classic car collection. But all of these possessions simply serve as trophies to represent, hey, this is society's way of trying to pay you for your wonderful efforts, but your efforts are simply priceless. But we're going to try to pay you anyway. If it makes any sense, I hope it does, because I just don't agree with society's method of terminology. To you?